We are live for episode 8 of the Monsters of Geek podcast. I am your editor in chief, Aaron Collier. With me today is my snow monster brother, the mythical snow creature himself, Mr. Joe Collier. We like to call him Yeti around here. What's up, bud?
Not too much. You?
Doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. Jared will be on hopefully a little bit later, maybe not, but it'll be me and Joe for right now. And we've done this before. I think me and you've done an episode together, right? Just me and you?
Yeah, I think it was like the second one.
Yeah, I think so. Step up in your mic a little bit, Joe.
All right.
Other than that, let's. So what we're going to talk about today? So our main topics today. Before we'll obviously go over the big releases for this week. We'll talk about briefly about what we've been into the last week or so as well. Some of the main topics we'll cover in this episode: Golden State loses their 8th straight of the season to the Boston Celtics, and does that matter? The return of the JRPG as Final Fantasy 15 and Star Ocean received 2016 release dates, and Warner throwing out some money, some expensive dough to get reshoots done on the Suicide Squad to make it funnier. All right, man, Joe. We'll start out, man. What you been up to this week?
Playing a lot of UFC 2.
You said you really liked it. Did you play last year's?
No, I didn't get to play last year's. I've too many bugs in it for me to spend that kind of money on it.
The last one you played was Undisputed 2, right? Is that right?
Whatever the last one that's been out, yeah, I think it was Undisputed 2.
Okay. What do you like about the new one that EA put out?
I like the gameplay. The physics are really nice. Sometimes you get some wonky physics. Kind of like, when you hit somebody in Madden and their like arm goes all the way around and like scoots up behind their back, and it should rip their arm off. You see that sometimes, but I do like that engine a little bit more. They do seem to it feels a little bit more realistic than the other ones did.
Is there anything that they've done gameplay wise? I know the submission system was something that some people hated, some people liked. It was actually pretty good in the first one that THQ put out, but they've kind of tweaked it a little bit, and a lot of people really haven't liked it lately. What do you think about the submission system? Is it hard? Is it right where it needs to be?
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Of course, I haven't gotten used to it. I'm sure if you practice it, it would become easier, but it's just really hard to get. Pretty much you have like an octagon that goes around, and you have to match the control sticks to which direction that it is. Faster you get there, the more time you have to break it. It's kind of hard. It's a little wonky to get used to. So, but that's really the only thing. That and what was you gonna ask?
No, that was it. That's all I asked.
No, I thought you were gonna ask something. No, that the submission and then the career mode. I've went through the bottom card really fast. And the trainings can be really hard. At some points, like you have these like speed trainings sometimes that you can do, and you have to push like 4 or 5 buttons at one time. Once you get used to what your moves are, it's a little bit easier, but it's a little hard to keep up with it on the screen at some point in times. And you only get 3 trainings per match, so it's either you have to do them all on hard or medium, or you would or you don't really step up that much. But if you do it all on hard or medium, your body wears down and you get injuries before the match. Like your chest can take so much pain or so much less, or your legs. Because I'm a kickboxer, so I like to throw kicks and practice my kicking. And sometimes you can get, if you go too hard, you get like 10 less damage on legs on leg kicks or something. So you really have to pace yourself when you go through it. I'm probably have to start my career over because I'm in like the top 10, and everybody I'm fighting is like a 90s, 95s, and I'm down there at like a 80, and I'm just getting my butt kicked. So it's causing my career to shorten up.
It seems like submission systems are hard to master for these developers. I know for WB 2K16, that game is overall is really good. They've added a lot of stuff into it. I know it's an older game, but added a lot of stuff into it. But the submission system stinks. It's kind of the same thing. It's kind of like a chase system. Now this went back to UFC, the first UFC, I believe, where they had that chase system. And it's just really wonky on WBE. And I don't know if these developers, I mean, I applaud them for trying to do something differently, but even with this one, which EA's got a lot of really good reviews, but it seems like the reviews that I read, just like yours, Joe, is that submission system isn't very good. And on 2K16, that was one of the things that a lot of people said that really bogged that game down was because of that terrible submission system. What about the striking, the flash knockouts, some of the other stuff that you like about it or don't like about it?
The striking, I love it. I like the strategy. Like I'll go into one match. I played. I got the game from my little cousin, or our little cousin Sam, because I got an extra copy of it from work, and I took it to him, and we played one match. I was Clay Guida, and he wanted to be Conor McGregor, and I couldn't really stand up with Conor with Clay because of the reach advantage. He had almost like a 12-inch reach advantage on me or something ridiculous. So I would continually have to get him down on the ground and just ground and pound. And that's what I like. You have to have that strategy because if you stand up with someone that is a lot better of a striker than you are and just try to box them, you're not going anywhere. You really have to use their strengths in this one. You just can't go in and plan to knock somebody out. If your guy's good on the ground, you want them to take them on the ground and use your advantage. But overall, the striking, I love the striking. If you're a good striker, you get to the point where you can you damage their head or you damage their body, and then you can get a good headshot in and rock them, and you pretty much can take them from there. I really enjoy it. Leg kicks are real big in this one. You see a lot of people if you watch online stuff like YouTube videos, a lot of people utilize the leg kicks because they're really a strategic measure. Because it does affect the way they throw their punches or their kicks because they can't put that pressure on it if you get it too far in the red.
Well, it sounds like it's overall, like I said, got good reviews. You really like it. I know the last one that you had, you liked okay, but you could see it kind of going downhill a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad EA kind of when I remember when it was announced, that was huge for EA to do, huge for the UFC. And that first game kind of fell flat for them, and not a lot of really good reviews. Like you said, a lot of bugs and stuff. There was some bugs. Somebody posted a glitch video, which was really, really funny. Some of the stuff, like one time the guy was phasing through a fence or something. It was really funny. But the guy did say in the video, he was like, this is so much better than last year because all the glitches and stuff that they had, that it almost made it unplayable. So good to see that the UFC's got a game going here, and hopefully they can kind of move out. I thought about picking it up myself. I'm just not a big sports gamer anymore, at least not on the PlayStation 4 yet. But maybe I'll pick that up. What I've been into this week, playing some Mystical Ninja, played some today. I love my Retro on 5, but sometimes I save in, we'll just say precarious situations. Actually, the one thing about Mystical Ninja and my philosophy on game design is I don't mind, which I'm not a game designer, so I don't know if I'm even allowed to have a philosophy. Especially with the older games, you get at least with the games that I like either long games that present a challenge but not too hard, or games with shorter stages that are a little bit more difficult. And with Mystical Ninja, it's a really fun game, really good platform, like I talked about, has a lot of RPG elements. The issue that I have with Mystical Ninja is the platforming levels are really long, and you're on a timer. And a lot of platforming is really challenging. There's about 3 sections to each platformer. The first one is a little bit shorter. Second one gets a little longer, and then the third one gets a little bit more difficult. And all of them's really difficult as far as enemies. Bosses are really unique, so they're really fun to fight. But I put myself in a bad position when basically I had one hit, and I had struggled to get through this level, so I saved right before the boss fight, and I had one hit left, and I almost had a meltdown a couple of times. And I finally figured it out. It took me a good 10 or 15 times because I only had one hit and I had to figure out how to beat the boss with just one hit. Finally figured out how to beat it and kind of moved on. But I find that the old games that I like, the retro games that I like, are either, like I said, either somewhat challenging with shorter levels, or I'm sorry, difficult with shorter levels, or kind of medium to easy difficulty with longer levels, where it makes it feel like even though you're moving at a good clip, it's still a challenge because point A to point B is a pretty good it's a pretty good challenge just to get to the end of the level. But I'm enjoying it. Like I said last time I talked about it, it's a longer game. Seems to be really good kind of Japanese, tone to it, comedic tone to it. Beautiful coming through the Retron 5 as it's up converted, I think, to 720, which makes it look really good, really, really sharp. But other than that, just getting ready for WrestleMania. WrestleMania is tomorrow. If you're watching this stream here, we are going to try to stream WrestleMania tomorrow night. Not the actual event because that could get us in trouble. But the ability to the ability to kind of commentate like we did with what we did Royal Rumble last time, Joe.
The Rumble.
So like we said, we were going to do the big pay-per-views, which I think the next one after this one will probably be like I guess Money in the Bank or something like that. So I'm not going to do every one of them, but the ones we deem that we are excited about. So if you're watching the stream, that kicks off, I think, WrestleMania. I don't know if we're going to do the pre-show, but the main show starts about 7:30ish. So we'll see. We'll talk about it off mic here and kind of figure out what we want to do. We'll post on our Facebook page, on our Twitter page, and at Monsters of Geek and then Monsters Geek blog on Facebook. So go check us out. But other than that, just getting ready for WrestleMania. We'll probably do a WrestleMania recap once Raw's over Monday night. We'll try to do another podcast, and we won't talk too much wrestling because we talked about it a lot last week. But just get geared up for that. So, Joe, anything else you've been doing?
You was talking about how challenging like older video games were. Mm-hmm. We were talking about that the other day at work about how, like back in the day, like when we started playing video games, you really had to be somewhat decent at playing video games. Mm-hmm. Because they were a little bit more difficult, like than they are now in some aspects.
Yeah, they just didn't hold your hand, and that's fine. I mean, one of the charms about retro games, because they are so hard. I mean, they're 5-hour games, but it takes you, if you're like me, 8 or 10 hours because I suck at video games, even though I like playing them. But some, like, for example, we've talked about, me and Sean, we started playing Battletoads for the Sega Genesis, which this is the first time I ever played that version. Basically, just a better looking port of the NES. The issue that I had is a lot of those levels are really long, especially like the speeder bike ones. They're really difficult and really long, and I think you can have short levels that's hard, and then you can have longer levels that seem hard because even though their difficulty isn't always ramped up just because they're longer levels. And I think that's like I said with Mystical Ninja, I just found today I was like, this level's way too long, and it was really precise jumping, and then once you get to that, you think, oh man, maybe it's just a short way, but then another hard part comes along. It's just a really long level. And I know I'm sounding like I'm complaining about the difficulty. It's actually a pretty fair game. There's no weird hit detection or anything like that, and I'm really am enjoying it. It's just I find that the levels are a little bit too long, and they get they're just super difficult all the way through, which can be a little bit because you start out with like you're traveling through the village, and then you get to the main level. So those levels are absolutely they're pretty long levels because you basically go through the first part, which is pretty easy, and then you go into the platforming, and those levels are long as well. So, but you're right. I mean, they are harder, and that's part of the charm. Like I said, and I've wrote this many times, if it wasn't for the Retron 5, I wouldn't be able to play as much because, when we were kids, we could sit down there for 5 hours and Mega Man or Mario or whatever we want to do. I can't do that as an adult, and I like to enjoy these games. And there's been many games that I've stopped playing because I've got stuck, or I got different, or it got too difficult, and I would have to start over again, and that really sucks. So, it's cheating. I know it's cheating. I've said it before, and I'm loud and proud for my Retron 5 because I really love it. And that, my wife Shauna got it for me for Christmas, and probably one of the best gifts I've ever received because it allows me to enjoy the games I love and in a way that I couldn't before. So, but yeah, you're right. They're harder. Some people really like it. Some people say it's not a true experience if you don't play through it straight through or use passwords or whatever. Play however you want. If you want to play with cheat codes, play with cheat codes. If you want to play like this with save states or emulators or whatever, go play with those, man. Just enjoy the game.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for the emulators, I don't think I would have made it through the Mega Man series.
No, and that's it. I mean, these games are meant to be difficult, and really, I mean, but they're meant to be enjoyed. And I enjoy a lot of these games in my collection, and some of them you can't save, but now you can because there's awesome ways to do that. So don't let anybody telling you playing the wrong way. I don't necessarily use cheat codes. That's just my personal opinion. I don't like using those, but I do like save states, and they've made me enjoy my collection a whole lot. So
The only cheat codes I ever used was on Spider-Man. I guess it was 2, and I unlocked all the costumes.
was it Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man 1? Remember we beat
Yeah.
Spider-Man 1, didn't we?
Yeah, we beat both of them.
PlayStation 1 Spider-Man.
Yeah. But yeah, I know I unlocked all. I used a cheat code to unlock all the costumes because I couldn't find them all. But and then the Grand Theft Auto cheat code stuff like that, just to get a tank while you're running around is fun. But
I mean, there's some cheat, and like I said, I don't use cheat codes to beat games, but I mean, we've all done the NASCAR paintball cheat or whatever. And we used to play with our friends Josh and Todd and Landon and a bunch of those guys. We used to get together and play that. NASCAR '98 was the first one, correct? Am I right on that?
NASCAR '98 paintball cheat.
We played the heck out of that thing, and it was fun. We used to go do the paintball cheat ball or the paintball cheat code. Go look it up on YouTube if you've never seen it. But basically, you just shoot paintballs out the front of your car, and we used to turn around and basically turn it into a demolition derby, and it was just a fun little thing to do, as far as just kind of turning that game into something more than just a racing game.
That and the Twisted Metal, because I think we used the cheat codes to unlock everybody, so we could go ahead and play it.
Yeah, we played Twisted Metal a lot.
Yeah,
that was the jam for about 2 years.
The Twisted Metal 2.
Yep. All right, let's move on to some key. And also I've started reading. Let me drop this in right quick. I started reading Matt Fraction's Hawkeye. Picked up the first trade at Mr. K's up here in Johnson City, and really enjoy it. Kind of like here's a guy that can just shoot bow and arrows on the Avengers, and he's living in like this apartment building, and he's dealing with mobsters and just everyday life. And it's an interesting take on the character. He reminds me a lot of I'm a big Wildcats fan from Image Comics, or Wildstorm Comics now, that's owned by DC, and it reminds me a lot of Grifter, which is one of my favorite characters. Just kind of down on his luck kind of guy that has great powers and sharpshooter, and just so it's just so be that he's involved with a super team. So really kind of slice of life as a superhero thing, just a different. I think David Aja does the art, which he's amazing. If you've never looked at his Iron Fist stuff with Matt Fraction, I think, and Ed Brubaker, that guy is amazing as far as artwork. But go check that out. I'm really enjoying. About halfway through, so I'm really enjoying that. And before we move on to releases, I want to apologize for last week's episode. The way that I cut this is I use a template from last week, so I take out. So basically, I drop it in and then move the intro and outro to where it needs to be. That you hear before the episodes if you hear it in podcast form. I forgot to move the fade. So near the end there, I was talking about Travis getting, at this point, I think almost 500 views on his Star Wars piece he done right when we started the site on the blue Snaggletooth figure, because Pop Funko is bringing it out as a special in their Star Wars centric box. And it got picked up on Wired.com. It got hyperlinked, and the site went crazy for about a week, and still is getting pickups, as it started out on Reddit, and then somebody else picked it up. Next thing you know, Wired picked it up, and it was really cool. And I just want to give him the props. But Travis is a great writer. He's has an awesome toy collection, awesome video game collection. Just his collection is amazing, and so just want to give him some props for putting together a really cool piece on a really obscure action figure that got some mad props over the last 2 weeks or so. So, but anyway, it dropped out during that time and kind of picked back up near the end of the story. So, want to give him some props in this episode.
You're my boy, Blue.
That's right.
Speaking of action figures, can we talk just that Morpheus figure?
You mean the Mobius figure?
Yeah, Mobius. Yeah.
Yeah, tell us about him.
Yeah, I guess I can't remember what line.
Not Mobius, Morbius. I'm sorry.
Morbius.
Mobius is an artist, a really good physical artist.
Morbius figure I saw at Walmart today. I think it was Spider-Man, the Legend, Marvel Legends or something. Yeah, Legend series, and it was Spider-Man. And I mean, it was just a really sharp-looking figure. It kind of made me stop. And all of them were pretty nice looking, but that's the one that caught my attention. Um, I don't know how good this is gonna show up. It's not gonna show up that great, is it?
Yeah,
No.
it looks terrible. It's a terrible
It
figure.
looks terrible, but maybe you can put a picture up or something. But um, it's a really nice looking figure, and all those figures were real nice, nicely made. Thought about maybe going and picking it up tomorrow just to kind of hang up.
Yeah,
Um,
their sculpts has gotten a lot better. When they first took it over from, I guess that's Hasbro, right? Is doing
mhm.
it now. Um, they moved the Marvel Legends from another company, maybe or is Mattel doing it? Anyway, vice versa. One of them's doing, one of them's not. I think it's Mattel that's doing um, the uh, the DC stuff now, and Hasbro I think is doing the Marvel stuff. But I may correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But anyway, when they swapped over to either one of those companies, their sculpt starting off was pretty bad because Marvel Legends had got down to when Toy Biz was still around, and that's who was doing the original Marvel Legends. They had it down to a science. I mean, those there was very rarely a bad figure that got put out, and when they swapped over to Hasbro and Mattel, whoever they swapped over to, their sculpt started to get kind of weird, but now they've finally kind of mastered that look that made Marvel Legends so awesome. Marvel Legends almost looked like Marvel Select for a while. I mean, that's how good those figures looked. And now they've got it back up. I'm just sad that they're like $19 now. Like Marvel Legends was like $6 when I was collecting them.
Yeah, I mean the price of toys gone up ridiculous anyway. So
Plastic must be going up in price.
it's yeah, that's true.
So let's move on to some key releases for this week. Last week we had pretty much no movies coming out. I'm sorry, we had Superman, Batman. I believe was it last week or the week before? Week before. I'm sorry.
Week before.
That came out last week. We didn't really have much of anything that came out there. And so the movies this week we've got Before I Wake, starring Kate Bosworth and Thomas Jane, PG-13 horror movie. I'm not a big horror fan. Joe is. He watched the trailer before he went on, and he wasn't a big fan of it. We'll just say that. So that'll come out this Friday. The Boss, new movie by Melissa McCarthy, basically playing like a Martha Stewart type character, gets thrown into jail for behind the scenes stock trading, and ends up going to jail and then comes back out and tries to be America's sweetheart. So she's an extremely funny actress. I know some people don't really like her, but I think she's hilarious, and she does what she does. Yeah, and Suki for the people that don't know from Gilmore Girls, but she's become a big star. She does some great stuff. I really do think she's a very funny lady. And then the movie that a lot of people are talking about, I think Joe shot me the trailer about I said probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's called Hardcore Harry, and basically it's what
is it, Harry or Henry?
Henry. I'm sorry, Hardcore Henry. Almost said Hardcore Holly. And so the it's starring people we probably don't even know: Haley Bennett, Danila Kozlowski. Basically, it's like a first-person movie where you're following the main character in first-person view. Some of the we actually saw a preview of it before Superman, Batman. It's a crazy-looking movie. If you get motion sickness, probably don't want to go see this. But basically, you're killed, your wife brings you back, and then all of a sudden, people are trying to kill you again. And you're kind of like this super-powered dude, almost like an android or something like that. And it's interesting. I don't know if I'll go see it or not, but it's an interesting take. Somebody says it's like the Bourne Identity mixed with what they say, mixed with Call of Duty, I think is what they said. Definitely a movie that is heavily influenced by the first person shooters we see on all the consoles now. But Joe, you saw the trailer for this. I saw the trailer for this. What do you think about it? Do you think it's gonna kind of like Cloverly or Cloverfield? Are we going to see a lot of different, I guess, clones of that?
We'll see.
If it's successful.
Yeah, we'll see how successful it is. I mean, I'm thinking about going and watching it. It looks pretty cool. I guess it really is one probably. I'm not gonna say the first action movie of the year because I guess Deadpool would take that, but it looks like it's gonna be. It should be pretty good. I enjoyed the trailer of it when I watched Deadpool. It was before Deadpool 2, and it looked like it's gonna be nice on the big screen.
Yeah, it looks interesting. I mean, it's definitely it did get some pretty good reviews coming out of some of the independent film festivals, so we'll see how it goes. If it's super successful, it makes a lot of money. I don't think they spend a ton of money on this. I didn't see it's nowhere near like 100 million. I think probably about 30 or 40 million they probably spent on this, if that much. So we'll see how successful it is, and if it, hopefully it is for those guys, and we'll see kind of how that goes. So if any of those movies interest you, those are the big nationwide releases. So go catch you a picture show this week or next weekend, I should say. Video games. One big release for you Xbox One and PC people: Quantum Break by Remedy Entertainment, Microsoft Studios. That is an exclusive to Microsoft as far as consoles of the Xbox One. Basically, based on a TV show. Is it out yet? I'm not for sure if the TV show is out yet. I think it's on NBC or something like that. Got some pretty good reviews from Polygon. It's kind of a third person kind of stop time top game from what I look at. Polygon gave it a 8.5 coming out of it, which is pretty good. Polygon does some pretty good reviews. So interesting. Of course, I own a PS4. Joe owns a PS4. I think nobody on the show owns an Xbox One. So we'll never get to play that unless we go pick up a system. But it seems like it's and that's something Microsoft needs, Joe. It needs some exclusives coming out.
I mean, I might pick it up on PC. I'm not sure yet. That's according because Polygon, like you said, don't write a bad review, so I might want to play it.
Yeah, they're pretty honest in their reviews. I think it's either I've agreed with it if I've played the game, or had some qualms with it, but they do bring a pretty good perspective to it. So good for Microsoft. I mean, that's a huge exclusive. This has been almost 3 years for E3 when it was announced. So just go pick that up if you're an Xbox One owner. In comic books, not much again. Powers premium hardcover #1, all new Powers. If you've never read Powers, I've read the first 15 issues, 20 issues, somewhere in that nature. It's interesting. I'm a big fan of Brian Michael Bendis, and also Michael Avon Oeming does the artwork. Really cool stuff. Go check it out. Kind of like basically there's Powers is basically a part of the police force that deals with meta crime, so superhero crime or supervillain crime or whatever. Very cool. It's a very very noirish and very just a good sense of humor. Good. Brian Michael Bendis does that procedural kind of noir stories really well. One of my favorite writers in comics. So go check that out. Of course, the new TV show comes on I think next week for the PlayStation. It's actually an exclusive for PlayStation. So if you're a PlayStation Network subscriber, you can check that out. So go check that out if you interested in Powers, a TV show. Joe, are you interested in the Powers TV show?
I don't think I've ever seen anything about it.
Okay, it was announced a couple of years ago, and it's just now starting to roll out there. But yeah, like I said, I like the series. I read the first 15, 20 issues and really liked it. Just never other things came up and I never picked it up. But go check out that hardcover, and Marvel makes some really cool hardcovers. So
I'll probably go pick it up.
Yeah, I think you can get it for almost half off at Discount Trades. So go check those guys out, or InStockTrades.com, or go pick it up at your local store. So whatever. All right, Joe. Let's move on to some main topics this evening. Of course,
now for the main event.
It's time for the main event.
Fighting.
Of course, big news coming out of the sports world last night was that the Golden State Warriors fell to the Boston Celtics. That is their 8th loss. So if they're looking to break the record, they can only lose one more time. So they can lose 9 games. The Bulls lost 10. So if they're looking to break that season win record, they cannot lose 2 games. They can lose 1, but they can't lose 2. Joe, I kind of read about the game. Boston is a team that kind of beat Golden State at their own game. They went small ball, and that we've discussed it that may not be the best way to go. But Boston's had their number, has had a couple close games with those guys, and they also beat them at home. So it ended their monstrous home winning streak as well. What did you read about the game, man? Was you kind of surprised that Boston came in with small ball to beat them?
Well, I think one of the key things that we should take from the game is Isaiah Thomas. Mm-hmm. First half, he had no points whatsoever. Second half, he came in and he just lit it up.
Changed shoes.
Changed the shoes. Yep.
Shoes.
So that's pretty. That's a pretty big stat there. Um, he's a heck of a ball player.
Yeah, he is. And the one thing that, ESPN kind of brought up in their article was that, they've got some good defenders on the outside, and Marcus Smart is probably one of the best defenders in the league.
Mhm.
And they hounded Curry the whole game, and Curry didn't shoot well. He had an open shot to win the game, I believe, last night, and I think it was Clay Travis said, I would have lost a whole bunch of money if Vegas allowed for real time betting, because everybody probably would have betted Curry that shot
Well,
going in last night.
it was to take it to overtime, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe taking in the overtime.
Because he and Barnes,
Regardless, I think everybody thought he's gonna make it.
because he and Barnes both had a shot to
Yeah,
take it in overtime.
both of them had a shot to send it back in the overtime. But you got to give the Celtics, man. They played some really good ball this year. Read a really cool article that they're like maybe 1 or 2 stars away, and how they're really doing it the Golden State way, as far as small ball and drafting guys and collecting draft picks and stuff like that. And Brad Stevens is a heck of a coach. So Boston could be something to mess with in the next couple of years, especially if they can land a lottery pick or maybe land a big star.
Well, Golden State has 2, 3, 4, 6 games left, I think, if I'm counting right.
Yep.
Tomorrow night is going to be a tough one because they face Portland. And, you got Video Dame.
The last time they faced them, correct?
Yeah. So you got Video Dame on that team.
Video Game Dame.
Then they have the Timberwolves, which is my team. Yeah, I'm a Timberwolves fan. And then, you go Spurs, Grizzlies to end out the season.
It's going to take a lot. Me and Andrew talked about that a couple of weeks back when, looking at that end of schedule, and those are 4 physical games to end the season on. I mean, obviously we know what San Antonio can do. They can be physical. They can beat you on the 3, and the Grizzlies just want to pound you in the submission. That's what they've done the last couple of years. And whether or not that team stays together intact, they're still tough to beat anywhere, whether it be on the road or at home. So struggle a little bit this year, but you know what type of team that you're getting, and it's going to be a physical ball game. Those are 4 tough games to go into the playoffs with. Like I said, very physical games, very physical teams. Golden State can't afford to lose anyone as far as injury wise. The thing that with Golden State, I'll just say this: I don't think they break the record. I think they lose 2 more. I think they tie it. I don't know if they break it because that's a tough. I mean, they've done it all year, but that's a tough string of games to put yourself up against the wall to only lose 1. So I think they may end up tying it, but I don't think they break it.
I mean, this close to the playoffs, I don't know if I would want to focus on that or not.
Well,
I mean, it's cool for the players, I think, and the fans to think, hey, we can beat Jordan's Bulls record.
Ask the Seattle Mariners how that feels.
Yeah. I mean that's not the most important thing. You want to repeat as a champion, but I mean, has there been a repeat champion, back-to-back champion since the Lakers?
Lakers.
Yeah, that's the last repeat champ that we had in basketball. So, I mean, I would focus on that more and maybe do the Grizzlies most of the players are hurt. I think they're just on a play for, they're 5th. I think they're 5th in the Western Conference, which is really surprising.
They're definitely in the playoffs, but they would like to go in with a statement, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising, but I mean, if you have a chance to rest some players, I would rest them. You're not going to rest them against the Spurs because the Spurs are looking to take that 1 seed, which I don't know if they can or not. I haven't really looked at the conference standings and how close they are because the Spurs are having a heck of a season too, and nobody's talking about it. Let's.
Well, I think, and I've said this before, and me and Andrews we've talked about it on Spirit Sports and Sarcasm a little bit. I don't think Golden State wins the NBA championship, and I know that sounds nuts, but I think that you look at this season, they've played so well up to this point, and even last night, I mean, they played well. They played well enough to almost win the game. But I think it's also the pressure of the season, trying to get the record. Trying to be the best team in the history of the NBA as far as regular season. And the NBA season is long. I mean, let's talk about 82 games. You can't beat again. You can't. That first round series adds more games because it adds one more game you have to win instead of the three and the best of five they used to do. Now it's best of seven. And if I'm Steve Kerr, I got to sit back and I got to think, maybe he's thinking if they can get to the playoffs and get some commanding leads in series, maybe he can set Curry and Thompson and Draymond Green and set some of those guys. But, these guys have played all 82 games. Steph has been injured a couple times here or there. Nobody has really, at least from what I've seen, just been benched for rest. I don't know who's going to beat them. Obviously, the Cavs, I think, are the most talented team in the East. Now, if they can bring it together and really, and really play like the team that they should be, they can beat Golden State. But I just don't. Either they don't get by San Antonio in the conference finals, or they can't get by the finals.
Well, I mean, you can't write San Antonio into the conference finals because they'd have to go through the Thunder in order to get to them if they both get into it.
And the Thunder matches up with the Spurs and Golden State really well.
Yeah, and that Thunder team, that's probably the best 3 seed I've ever seen in the NBA playoffs.
And here's a stat for you. I was kind of looking at some of their common losses as far as the 8 losses that they have now. And in every loss but San Antonio, they allowed over 100 points. So in the 7 losses that they had, they've allowed 100 points. And I know, they talk about Golden State's defense and stuff like that, but Golden State still, because of the way they get up and down the court, they still give up a lot of points. The Portland loss, they gave up 138 points. That's absurd. Like I would never have guessed that number against them. But if you can score with them, and if you can keep going with them, and if you can get up to that 100, it looks like they lose a little bit of steam once they get a team that can match them punch for punch.
I mean, right now, if the playoffs were to happen right now, they're looking at going against Utah Jazz in this 7-game series, which I think they could easily win that series, probably sweep it, maybe lose 1 game. It's according to how they play. San Antonio goes against Dallas, which they should be able to handle pretty well. And then OKC goes against Portland. That's the series that I would watch.
Yeah, that should be a really good series.
And I mean that Portland team, nobody gets to watch them because they're in Portland, they're West Coast.
And they're not supposed to be where they're at. Like this was supposed to be a rebuilding year for them. And they lost. With McCullough. Was it McCullough, right? Is it McCullough?
McCullough. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And of course Damian Lillard, which Joe's been singing the praises for years now. That backcourt is maybe not as good as Curry or Thompson, but they're getting there. I mean, those guys can shoot.
I mean, with the loss of LA in the offseason, they wasn't supposed to. They had them pretty much, barely out of, probably past Denver at like a 9 seed or something, just out of the playoffs. But I mean, McCollum has came alive. He's probably, they're saying to give Steph Curry the most improved player award, but I would say McCollum is the one that needs to get that award because yeah, I mean he's upped his points per game, I think by 11 points if I'm not mistaken. Maybe a little bit more. I might be wrong by that stat. You might want to check it, but I mean it's that Portland team. They can shoot lights out, and I think they stack up well against Oklahoma City. I mean, you might see an upset in that series.
Yeah, I think that matchup. I think it'll be a fun series. I still think the deciding factor in that series. I just don't think that Russell Westbrook would let them lose. I mean, he's just a bulldog, and he's had a great year. And I know Steph Curry's probably going to win MVP. I think somebody's kind of everybody's kind of wrote that in, but I'd almost give my vote to Russell Westbrook. I mean, I think that what he's done the last 2 years has been just absolutely amazing. What he's done this year is ridiculous. I mean, the triple doubles he's had. We could talk about player of the year later on, but I think it's a good matchup. I think it'll be a fun series. That 3-6 series will be really fun. Of course, you got Blake Griffin coming back for the Clippers. We'll see how that goes. I think there's I'm gonna throw a 6 team in there that says they could win it. So in the West, you got Golden State, San Antonio, the Clippers, and Oklahoma City. I think those 4 in the West are who to beat and can have a chance to go to the finals. I think Toronto's playing really good basketball, but I don't think they can get by Cleveland. So I'm going to add Toronto and Cleveland out of the East. I just don't see anybody else out of the East that can contend.
No. I mean, I'm really surprised that the Heat's up there.
Let's play some good ball. I think the Heat is.
I think they're a streaky team.
I think they're streaky. I don't think their bench is as good. I think they're a little bit weak on the bench, which you can say that for a lot of teams. Even Cleveland, I think. That's why it's so important for them to add Channing Frye, I think, was to give some stuff off the bench there. But I think it'll be ultimately Golden State and Cleveland, or not Golden State. Well, it could be Golden State, it could be San Antonio and Cleveland, but I think Cleveland comes out of the East. Not easily. I think they're I think Toronto gives them a run for their money, but I think it's going to be Cleveland and San Antonio, Golden State.
I mean, Toronto's got a hard road too. If you look at the East standings, and
that's where I think Cleveland just has enough talent where even if they have a bad night, they can win. And I just don't see anyone else in the East that they can play bad and have enough talent to win a game.
Mm-hmm. I agree. But it's just according to what Cleveland team shows up to.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Cleveland can have enough talent to get to the finals. I think they have to play really well to beat those teams out of the West, though, and we'll see how it goes. LeBron's already kind of grumpy right now, so we'll see how that goes. The teams in the East don't want a grumpy LeBron because he'll return to that crazy LeBron scoring machine, passing machine that he can be when he's grumpy. So
it's just, LeBron almost single-handedly won the championship last year.
He almost beat people say Kyrie played that whole game up to the the one game, but he broke his foot and LeBron was still carrying the team in that game anyway. Yeah. He basically won 2 games by himself.
Yeah, he was one game away from winning.
Yeah, one game away from being 3-1.
Yeah.
They was leading that game until Golden State made that comeback, and but yeah, they was one game away from being 3-1 in that series.
I just want to say that I called that last year.
You did.
I did. No, I'm going opposite this year. I think the Spurs are going to come out of the West, and I think it's going to be Cleveland, of course, in the East. But I think the Spurs end up winning.
Be interesting. I'm still sticking with Cleveland. I said it from the first of the year, and I thought Cleveland with that team and the whole season, they're worrying me a little bit. But I still think that if you get all 3 of those guys healthy, and they start playing, and Kyrie quits jacking up shot after shot, and Love quits whining, and LeBron quits complaining to him or whatever, yelling at him. I think if that team can play together, I think that they can win a championship. But it's going to be rough. It's going to be some good series, and that's what we want. We want good basketball first and foremost. So, and I think we'll get that in these playoffs.
Yep.
All right, so let's move also from the National Basketball Association. Let's talk about possibly the emergence of the JRPG here in the United States. They're obviously still released here. Some of the series from Atlas has been brought over, and some of the ones that like the Persona series, and they bring over a lot of obscure kind of translations over here, or localizations as they call them for the. Especially for the PS3. PS3 had a lot of really kind of crazy JRPGs. We got a new Tales game for the PS4, but they haven't been as prominent like, say, in the PlayStation 1 era, PlayStation 2 era, where those games were huge, epic games that everybody, wanted to play. Final Fantasy and Star Ocean that we're going to talk about. And, you had the Saga series, and you had, the Tales series, and just JRPGs everywhere for those systems. It looks like they may be making a comeback this year. 2016, Final Fantasy 15 got a release date for September of this year, and Star Ocean in June, I believe, of this year. Joe, do you think the JRPG is kind of making a comeback here?
I think so.
In the States?
Yeah. With the Final Fantasy coming back with the 15, you could see a big movement in it, a big push, of course, because that's the one that's most popular, I think, in the States. Um, I've not really played the other one.
I have it in my collection. It gets pretty good reviews. The newest one that came out for the PS3, some people didn't like, but it's definitely something I probably look to play this summer before which I got a couple months to play them. Before this new one comes out. It looks gorgeous. That one will drop in June. I think I said July. I think it'll drop in June. And then Final Fantasy 15 launches on September 30th. There is a demo out now that apparently if you play it, you get whatever summon character is in it when you start the game when it first comes out. So go check that out. It's on PS4 and Xbox One, I believe. But anyway, yeah, Final Fantasy 15 looks great. The gameplay that I've seen on it, the way they're using their magic. There's a really cool thing that they showed in their last gameplay. Where did I see that at? I think it was on Polygon or Kotaku One. I think they did like a hands-on demo of it, and he's talking about how magic. It's an action RPG, so it's not turn-based. Obviously, they did that with Final Fantasy 14 or 13, whichever one was the last standalone game. I think it was 13. They did that, as far as that goes on that, and it's an action RPG, so definitely continue in that vein. They talk about how magic kind of works with the environment a little bit more, as far as like there's just where there's gasoline, they're facing like this big mech. You have like fire magic. So he said, "Now watch this," and he throws it at the gasoline, and it engulfs the mech in flames or whatever. And I think it's cool how they're incorporating that. He said, magic will work within the framework of the environment as well, which is something that's really cool. Obviously, you got to think on your feet a little bit to do that. Characters look great. Storyline seems to be pretty good. Joe, I haven't played a Final Fantasy game. Well, I've been playing Final Fantasy 3 for the Super Nintendo, but when was the last one that you played that was, you were really stoked about?
I guess maybe 10 was the last one I played.
Yeah, I didn't like 10, but you was really big on 10.
I enjoyed 10. I mean, I probably would have played 12, but at the time, I don't think we had online capability to play it. That is the one that was online, right?
12 wasn't. I thought it was 14.
It may have been.
Or 11. 11.
11. 11 was online because that's the one that just shut the servers down on.
Right.
And I had a lot of friends that played it. They said it was awesome. I mean, of course, it's been out for I don't know how many years, and it was still going on, still strong online. And of course, you can still play it online on the PC, but they're getting ready to pull the plug on that too. But I mean, I really enjoyed 10. Of course, I think the beloved 7 was the one that everybody enjoyed the most. I enjoyed 8 also.
Yeah, I haven't played 8 or 9 yet. I know 7 was huge for me. That was one of the first PlayStation 1 games I really kind of threw a bunch of hours into. And that game, I mean, it has its issues. I mean, it's not a perfect game. I think, a lot of people say it's a little bit overrated. For some, it is. I think it's a good game. I think it's a very solid game. It's probably one of the best games on PlayStation 1 by far. People can say what they want about it, but I think some people just don't like it because everybody else likes it. But some people have some qualms about it. I think it's a good game. It's just a really good game, really good RPG for me. But, it's huge to have Final Fantasy 15 on these new consoles. And if you look at what Square Enix is doing, it was announced that they're doing some movies for it, some Game of Thrones actors, and the guy from Breaking Bad, not the older guy, but the younger guy, is going to lend their voice to the CGI movie and whatnot. So they're throwing a lot of money behind this. I don't care about the movies. They're probably going to just serve as setup. I don't really care about that portion of it, but the game looks really good. Kingdom Hearts is still floating out there, so you're looking at, and not to mention Persona 4 or 5 is supposed to come out this year. So you're looking at all those JRPGs. I mean, Final Fantasy 15, Star Ocean, Persona, and then, maybe sometime next year, Kingdom Hearts. Good stuff. And they just released a new Tales game, which I like. I took a little bit of a break from it, but a good JRPG, good action RPG. It's just interesting to see a lot of these big titles come back and kind of make their imprint on the PS4 and Xbox One. So again, that Final Fantasy 15 will be out September the 30th, I think was the confirmed date, and then Star Ocean will come stateside in June. Of course, that game was going to be released in Japan before, so we just wonder if we was going to get a stateside release, and we are. So for JRPG fans, man, I like a lot of JRPGs. It's been a while since I played through one all the way, but they're fun games, man. They definitely can get engrossed in them pretty quickly. So hopefully, Final Fantasy 15 ends up being just as good as some of the stuff we've already seen. So,
what was the one that we used to play? I think Mom got it for you for Christmas one year. You ended up taking it back though to Kmart.
Jay Cocoon.
Jay Cocoon.
Yeah, that was a good game. Yeah, that's actually one that I would like to get a hold of at some point, but I'm not really concentrating on PS1 right now. I've got a very strict list, Joe.
I just wondered what I couldn't remember the name of it because
Cocoon, I believe. It's almost like a Pokemon type game where you it was cool. The PlayStation 1, I mean, if you want to go for really good JRPGs, go grab your PlayStation 2 and get some PlayStation 1 games or PlayStation 1, whatever. That's where the JRPG just really blew up in America. Well, I take that back. Really, it started on the Super Nintendo and then carried over to the PlayStation 1. And those things were big for, 20 years? What was it, 10, 15 years? It was just, those were the games people wanted.
Or if you're lucky enough to have original PS3, you can play it on there too.
There you go, the big fat one. So, All right, we'll move on from some JRPGs, and we'll touch on our final subject for this podcast. So, Warner Brothers is the report from. Let's see, who did it come from? According to Birth Movies Death, which is a website, I guess it reports on movies and stuff. Warner Brothers is spending millions of dollars to send Suicide Squad back for reshoots to make it funnier. Apparently, from what I understood, when they screened the preview, the trailer, the first time, the best parts that was acceptable or people liked the most was the funnier parts of that. So just the humor of it. It's going to be a dark film, so we'll see how it goes. I always thought that they wanted this to be kind of their Guardians of the Galaxy, kind of an offshoot of the main superhero movie with some characters you may or may not know. Joe, what do you think about the reshoot? Do you think it's smart for those guys to go back and make a reshoot and kind of make it funnier, or they should just release what they got?
I think you're running a risk in going and doing reshoots.
Tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to risk. But I mean, if they feel that they need to go back and make it a little bit funnier, I don't know. I mean, I like the darkness of the trailer. And I was the one, I think I pointed out or I texted you after I watched it about how it could be their Guardians. But I don't hope they just. Let's see, I'm trying to think of what I want to say. I hope that they don't focus on making it too funny, because I still like the dark aspect of it. And if they do make it funny, I hope they keep it kind of like a dark humor, because we are dealing with villains.
Yeah, I think the issue that you're going to find, and DC has already kind of set this up. When we talked about Superman, Batman a little bit last week, and Joe, if you want to chime in, I think you went and saw it. That was a very non-funny movie. And when they did try to put humor in it, they kind of shoehorned it in. Me and Andrew talked about this a lot before, that the humor in the DC universe, he's not a big fan of, and I'm not either, because it just doesn't fit. They just back, oh, well, we got to crack a joke here. While versus Marvel is very much not lighthearted per se. You can have some pretty dark stories in Marvel, but their characters overall are lighthearted. Like they'll crack a joke in the middle of an invasion or something, because that's how that universe is. It has a lot of characters that do that. DC really doesn't, or at least how they're writing them in their movies now. Superman used to joke around with Batman, doesn't really do that now. Batman had that dark sense of humor that wasn't really shown. Although he had glimpses of it, but not really shown. Again, kind of shoehorned in there. I don't know if you spend tens of millions of dollars to do that. I think it's, like you said, a very big risk in taking a film that's pretty much done at this point, and going back and doing some more stuff to it. And they haven't been great with putting humor in their movies, anyway. So let's hope what they're shooting doesn't seem like, oh, you can tell they added that, because that doesn't make any sense there.
I mean, I don't feel like you said, the characters in DC aren't as humorous as I think they're going on what people liked about Deadpool 2, is that it was funny.
I think you hit it right on the head, man. I think that's a big reason for this.
and I just hope that they don't try and make I see the one that I kind of predict the one that they're not go back and do the most reshoots on is probably Harley Quinn.
Yeah, because she's the most, and even in the comics, and people can hate me. I know there's a lot of big Harley Quinn fans out there, and I don't want to make them not on our side. Okay, we love you. We want you to listen to our show and read our website. But let me just say this: they've tried to make Harley Quinn into their Deadpool, and you can't tell me otherwise.
Yeah.
Kind of this crazy kind of. You don't know what they're going to do. Really humorous type character, and that was after they did. Deadpool was starting to get some traction in the comics, getting his own series, getting pushed out in the spotlight a little bit more. So you can't tell me that they're not trying to turn Harley Quinn into Deadpool, or at least some version of that.
I think, yeah. I mean, they're gonna go back. I say they're gonna do a lot of reshoots with her. Possibly, you may see some Joker reshoots. But if they're smart and they're gonna do this, they're not gonna make it lighthearted humor. They're gonna make it really dark, because it would just go with the DC universe, I think.
Yeah, it still has to be dark, and I think it's going to be more of a dark humor they're going to put in there. I don't know if you can, minus Harley Quinn being a little bit more of a wacky type humor going there. It has to be some dark humor, and to be quite honest, and this is just my personal opinion, the less Joker they put in this movie, I think the better it's going to be.
I agree.
And me and you've talked about this before. I've always thought putting the Joker in a team movie was a terrible idea because he's such a big character. Alan Moore, when he did League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, he was asked why he didn't put Sherlock Holmes, or why, if you spoiler if you never read it, but Sherlock Holmes pretty much dies in that waterfall fight scene that I think he did in the books, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So that's still still canon in this type of universe he's creating. Somebody asked me, he's like, why didn't you put Sherlock Holmes? He said, because Sherlock Holmes is too big of a character. He said, you put Sherlock Holmes on a team and it becomes a Sherlock Holmes book. And he said, I didn't want that. And I feel like and I hope it's not a mistake, but I feel like the less Joker in this movie and you let those other characters kind of marinate on the viewer and kind of, get to know these characters, I think the better that they are. So I really hope that we don't get any more Joker.
I agree. Like I said, Harley Quinn's probably don't get the most. You might see some dark humor stuff from Will Smith, maybe, just because the way he can deliver his lines. And it's not going to be like a, haha, like they're not going to turn him into a comedy character, but I think at some point in time you'll see him make maybe 2, maybe 3 jokes.
Well, they've already announced a new Suicide Squad. Basically, DC's doing this rebirth thing, and they announced some of their teams that was going to be on it, and I think Jim Lee's doing some Suicide Squad issues. It's basically Harley Quinn, Croc, one other one, and then a mystery one. So definitely, I think Croc will. And I think Croc's a character that you could do a lot with. Mm-hmm. They don't really have a Hulk character, and I think Croc could definitely be kind of that, not Hulk character, but kind of that hulking kind of monster character that they're kind of lacking in some of their stuff.
Kind of like what's his name from Galaxy, Batista's character.
Batista's character, right. And I can see that working with Killer Croc. I just don't know, man. I mean, this movie intrigues me more than what Superman Batman did with their trailers. I think that it's very dark, but it does have a kind of darker sense of humor. It's a kind of a ragtag group of villains, which is always very intriguing to me. I like comic books that's like that as well. It's just according to the Joker, man. I think he's too big of a character to be put in on a team book. I didn't like it when they said it before, so we'll see how they do. But I'm more excited about that one than I am when I was Superman Batman.
It's a different type of trailer too. I mean, Superman Batman was all serious, like setting it up for the big showdown. But I mean, you have Bohemian Rhapsody playing in the background of the Suicide Squad trailer, and you see some jokes getting cracked in the trailer about stealing and stuff like that. But we're villains. That's what we do, or something like that. Whatever Harley Quinn says in that part. But I agree. The trailer's got me intrigued. I hope it's a good movie. I want it to be a good movie because I like the Suicide Squad. But I hope these remakes don't make it into something that that we don't want.
I feel like, and this is, I feel like this with Warner Brothers, and and it's a bad thing to be, I think, for a movie studio, especially a big one that spends so much money. I think they look at other movies too much. I think they look at Deadpool, they look at the Avengers, and they're like, oh well, they really like that in that movie. We have to do something like that. Just go tell your stories.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason Marvel had to do so much foundation laying is because a lot of those guys, they never been in the movies. A lot of those, even like Iron Man and Cap, like they never had best selling books. It was the X-Men and even the Avengers really, until probably the mid 2000s or something, started kind of making a comeback because they did the All-Star team for Spider-Man, Cap, and Iron Man, and all those guys that their version of the Justice League. Well, the X-Men has always been a huge thing. Spider-Man, Wolverine, they had characters that was out in the forefront, but a lot of the Avengers had to lay a new foundation for. Your DC Comics, like you have Batman, and you have Superman, and you have Wonder Woman. Don't worry so much about being like someone else. Just kind of go do your thing a little bit. And even parts of Superman, Batman, I felt like they did that. Now that doesn't mean it's a good movie, but to go back and do reshoots on a movie, I think they're just paying too much attention to Deadpool, and it's like, just go do a movie. Like, just go do the movie that is basically done, and put it out and see how good it is.
Stop trying to be Marvel.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it to be but you are DC. People know your characters. To me, I think to some points your villain. I mean, a lot of points your villains are kind of better than Marvel's. To a point, some of your characters I like Batman. It's probably one of my favorite superheroes. So, but I think we talked about it at work about how they set up. In Batman versus Superman, they set up the foundation of each character. And somebody asked me why they're not going to make like a standalone movie for each one of them, which I'm not sure if they are or not. But I mean, to me, I don't want to watch an origin story about the Flash or anything like that. I mean, the only one that I want to see an origin story of is Wonder Woman.
Yeah, maybe Aquaman. I mean, maybe Aquaman. I think Aquaman they could turn into something kind of neat and stuff. From what I understand, they're doing a Flash movie, and Cyborg's going to be in it. That was the latest rumor that I read. Now I don't know if that will come to fruition or not.
I mean, is it going to be an origin story though?
I don't know, and that's the thing. Like, I don't even doing a Batman's origin at the first of Superman Batman. I thought we don't need to see that. Like, we know the origin of Batman. We know the origin of Superman. Even though, I like kind of how they did the origin in the Superman Man of Steel movie, it isn't needed.
No.
It wasn't needed. That was, 25 minutes you could have done something else with.
I mean, those are popular characters. The origin. Most people know the origin. And if you don't know the origin, most people can tell you the origin, I just don't feel like I think that's where DC is kind of weak at, is their origin stories. They can't really adopt them to the big screen in my opinion.
Yeah, they're a little bit bigger. I mean, a lot of but a lot of them are already known. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, they don't even need to do it. Like, a lot of people know how Captain America got his powers, how Iron Man became a millionaire playboy industrialist. Not everybody knows that.
I mean, you and I talked about when Cap came out, the very first one, about how it could possibly be one of the best like war movies if they'd done it, and it was a great movie, just because it was set during World War II, and that's how Cap got his powers.
A little bit boring, but go ahead.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good origin story. I mean, the second one's far better.
Awesome.
Probably top 3 in my opinion in movies, but in comic book movies. But I mean, Marvel's origin stories, I don't feel like they're that well known as DC's, and I feel like they are more. I feel like they're more movie friendly than DC's are.
Oh, most definitely. Now that can be a good. I read an article today out of IGN, and one of the guys said, "I really feel like one of the big things that DC did well, they didn't hold your hand, and that's good for us." Like, I knew what was going on, but like I said, when we talked about last week. Shauna didn't know what was going on, and she lost interest 30 minutes in because she was kind of confused on what was going on. It really wasn't explained real well. And I said before, I still believe that was a Superman movie. And they talk about reshoots. They went back and put Batman in it. And I still believe that to this day. That's why the cuts were weird and everything else I said last week. I really do believe that was supposed to be Man of Steel 2. And they were like, oh, no, we got to get a Justice League movie out now, like stat. And they threw Batman in there. Because what they should have done a Superman movie and then a Batman movie. Give me a Ben Affleck Batman movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then do Wonder Woman. Maybe do Batman and Wonder Woman the same year. I don't know. Do something like that. And then get your Justice League, ready to go. And, I've said this before, the perfect Justice League movie, go watch the Justice League series and go watch their, 3 or 4-parter of how the Justice League came together. You go get, Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, and you say, hey, we want you to try to recreate that on the big screen because that's a perfect Justice League movie. It's absolutely great. And they blew it. You didn't need a Superman Batman movie. The only reason you want a Superman Batman movie is because you want to rush a Justice League movie out the door.
And I think that's one reason why DC's origins are so well known is because they rule the cartoon side of it. I mean, it's not just kid cartoon. I mean, I'm an adult. I still love watching the Batman animated series because it's so dark. The Justice League movie or the Justice League show that used to come on, I guess it was what, Cartoon Network?
Yeah, both of them did, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they were made for teenagers, but I mean, they have their dark moments in those too.
They have this soul thing. I mean, all of those from Justice League until that ended, until Justice League Unlimited started and ended. They have so many stories on how to introduce these characters. And I just don't know why they felt so threatened because you have such awesome characters, especially in this time where if it's a comic book movie, it's pretty much going to be successful. Just take your time. Get to a Justice League movie, set up the Trinity, and then do a Justice League movie. And look, I don't work in the movies. I think they overthink things sometimes. I don't think Marvel overthink things. I think they have a clear plan and they stick to it. And this is what we're going to do. This is when we're going to do it. And we're not going to let anyone tell us differently.
I'm going to repeat myself. Marvel's origin stories are more adaptable to the big screen than DC's. I want to see a Doctor Strange origin story. I want to see a Black Panther origin story. I don't want to see a Batman origin story again or a Superman origin story again. We can go back and see those multiple times. Aquaman, I think Aquaman would be fun, like you said. Wonder Woman. I think if they made the right Green Lantern movie,
the Green Lantern movie, it would be awesome. Just a big space opera. Yeah. That's all it has to be.
Yes,
I mean, you have to be on Earth.
I mean, I like to pretend the Green Lantern movie don't exist because it was just that bad. But I think with the right Green Lantern, like maybe a Nathan Fillion or somebody like that, you could have a really good origin story for Green Lantern.
Yeah, that's a movie that's ripe that just could be just an epic space odyssey, man, and just an opera, man. I think they missed it so bad that first time. You don't even have to be on Earth, man. Just get Hal Jordan off of Earth and just have him go on this, be a space cop, man. And a bunch of other space cops and them go on a big space opera, adventure. That one's ripe to be really good. That could be very well. I'm not going to say they're going to make the next Star Wars, but that is ripe for like a new sci-fi type of Star Wars type movie, and Green Lantern is ready for it. Maybe Guardians of the Galaxy maybe can do that now, but Green Lantern, because of the scope, if you've ever read a Green Lantern comic, how big the scope of the Green Lanterns are, it's ripe for the taking.
Yeah, you get the right person on it, get the right story lined out, get the right cast. Because to me, Ryan Reynolds was no Green Lantern.
He just wanted Jordan.
No, if DC, they missed the calling of Ryan Reynolds in the movie, he should have been Flash. But if you get the right Green Lantern and the right people in that movie, you could have something special.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think, before we end the podcast, I think that, going back to how adaptable Marvel's origin is, because Marvel has its foundation is in the real world, or as real as you can get with superheroes. And I've always felt like because DC has these godlike characters or these, big kind of, supernatural entities that, that we're talking about. It is hard to set up an origin story, but they've already had them set up. I mean, that was perfect for them. Like, they don't have to do much. Like a Wonder Woman one I could see, but other than that, just give me a Batman movie, man. Just give me a Superman movie. Just do something. I don't need them both in the same film. I need them both in the same film when Justice League comes along.
Give me a good Superman movie.
Yeah. I mean, and unfortunately, they just, I don't know. I guess they're just feeling rushed. I mean, I don't see the superhero movie going away for the next, 10 years. There's so much out there as far as plans and stories and everything else that's out there. There's so much stuff that they can throw out, and it's amazing to see these characters on the screen. And as long as Marvel's going, DC can keep going too. And
I think DC has in their mind that they have to play catch up, and they have to play catch up fast.
Yeah, and in some way, sure. Yeah, sure. But set it up properly. Like, we didn't need Superman Batman. Just give me a Batman movie.
Yeah.
Or give me a Superman 2 or whatever it was supposed to be before. And because you have characters, and I wrote this in, in the piece, and I said these are the things that has to be done. They can't do it the Marvel way because they don't have a choice not to do it the Marvel way. But they have these characters that have been so established that they don't need to. You've already given me a Superman movie. Give me the Wonder Woman movie next or a Batman movie next, and then do Justice League. You have time. I think that, like you said, I think they're just feeling rushed to try to get this superstar, all-star movie. And to be quite honest, the way it's going, I don't think Justice League will be very good.
No, I mean, even if you had those standalone movies like or Superman 2 and a Batman movie with Ben Affleck in it that wasn't an origin movie, maybe have cameos by people in it, like you did Batman versus Superman, but not as big as a cameo. I mean, have Wonder Woman show up in Gotham City or Metropolis or something, just to make a screen time to set up the Wonder Woman movie,
I just think the Trinity you have to set up, and that's fine. Superman, Batman, you don't have to do origin story, but I feel like Wonder Woman does need an origin story because she hasn't been treated. I'm not saying in the same respect, but she's not as popular as say those two. So I understand the origin story there, but you could easily do an Aquaman movie that ends up having Flash in it somehow or Cyborg in it somehow, and do this team up like with Captain America when they did with Falcon. They introduced Falcon because Falcon can't hold his own movie. No offense, but he just can't. So they introduced him there, and in Iron Man when they introduced other characters and whatnot to it. You can do a team up. Comics are all about team ups, and I think you could find a neat way to say, hey, we're going to put Cyborg in the Flash movie, which is fine. If you're going to make a Flash movie, put Cyborg in it, or we're going to make Cyborg or Flash show up in the Aquaman movie just to establish who he is. I just don't, I hope it's good. I'm one of those guys that want comic movies to last forever. I want everything to be good. I don't want bad movies that we had before that almost killed the genre. I want Justice League to be good. I just don't have a lot of faith in the model that they have.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with the Ben Affleck Batman that they could really do, like, which comic is it? I mean, I don't want to be a spoiler alert because I know people don't read comics as much, but Robin dies in. Isn't it like a death in the family? Is that what's called? Or
yeah, dude, that's like 20. It's like almost 30 years old.
Well, I mean, not that, but set it up to where.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have to worry about spoilers. So don't worry.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, set it up to where Batman comes back, and that.
Well, right now there's no Batman movie on the schedule.
Yeah.
Schedule. There's no Batman movie.
I mean, they kind of, unless they said it before Batman versus Superman, they kind of ruined the comeback moment,
Yeah, I mean, and even now, just make a Batman movie. Like,
yeah.
When listen, I can't imagine a meeting at Warner Brothers that comes in with a plan that everybody agrees on that doesn't have a Batman movie in it, like a standalone Batman movie. And I think that's what happened. I think that they sat around and was like, oh, yeah, we'll not do a Batman movie. It's okay. And then all of a sudden, somebody's like, wait a minute, we're talking about Batman here. And they threw him in Superman Batman. And I really do believe that's what happened. I think they had an about face and was like, we need a Batman movie. We can't put it into production right now. We're going to do Superman Batman.
Yeah, I mean, I think they missed the chance of making a really good, like, Batman comeback story.
Yeah.
And if he was on introduce the Joker again, You talking about a story to introduce the Joker in?
Yeah, Batman maybe should have been the first movie they put out.
Yes.
That's just my personal opinion.
Yes.
Anyway, we'll quit geek ranting here and
Geek Rage.
geek rage. Like I said, I want all these movies to be really good, and I hope Justice League is good. I'm just don't have a lot of confidence in Warner Brothers right now. All right, Joe, you got anything else to say, man? And we'll end this episode here.
Oh yeah, I think the last time I was on, I said something about Kings and Prophets.
Mm-hmm.
It's been canceled.
Don't mention any more shows, man.
I'm not mentioning anymore. So you can't watch that one. Actually, they did say they may do an online version of it.
Okay.
Which means that it's going to be even raunchier than the other ABC version. So yeah. But yeah, sorry about that, people, for ruining or for canceling your TV show if you watched it.
We're gonna wait. Joe hasn't finished Daredevil completely. I think Andrew's almost done with it. Me and Jared's finished it as well. So we're probably gonna do like a special Daredevil season 2 episode. Spoilerific cast. As far as that goes, we'll talk about the show. We've been trying to hold off. We talked about it a little bit last week, but Jared was almost finished, and I was about halfway through. So hopefully Joe can get finished, and then we'll kind of get together and talk about the season a little bit because it's amazing.
Only if at the beginning of that show, if we can have the Rob Zombie Daredevil theme.
I could maybe get that.
Chow, Daredevil.
We'll see how that goes. So, all right. Well, this has been episode 8 of the Monsters of Geek podcast. Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget, we're probably going to do a WrestleMania wrap up sometime next week. So be on the lookout for that. Should be up maybe late next week or something once everything gets wrapped up.
Watch our live feed tomorrow.
Yeah, watch your live feed tomorrow if you're watching the live feed now. If you're already listening to the podcast, and it's probably already over, but it would be up on YouTube actually. So everything that we film live stream will go up on YouTube, and you can listen to it there or whatever you want to do. Because with the network, you can start it when we do and listen to us ramble on like a Wednesday.
And we do geek out over wrestling quite a bit.
Yeah, all but Andrew. Yeah. So Andrew doesn't like wrestling, but the three of us really geek out. Hopefully Jared can join us for that tomorrow night, maybe a little bit later. But he's going to try to jump on, he said. But yeah, that's it. So go check us out on Twitter at Monsters of Geek. Go check us out on Facebook, Monsters of Geek blog. Go check out, obviously, the website where all of our cool friends contribute. It's monstersofgeek.com. What's up there now? Let's see. What did we do last week? Andrew touched on the PS4, the 4K PS4 that they've talked about for a while. And what was the other one we posted yet last time? Man, I totally blanked out. Let me look right quick. Joe, talk for a second.
All right. Well, so I went out the other night, and it was a little dark. And
I remember what actually, I finally got our Free Comic Day 2015 stuff done last year. Sat down with Aaron Mead of Advent Comics. That's actually on the YouTube channel, but also on the blog as well. So go check that out. Really good conversation. Just a good video I put together. Actually, you can go see all of it under our playlist. I have them in separate playlists. So go check out our coverage of Free Comic Day last year. And hopefully, Cavalier Comics and Brian Marcus will allow me to do that this year. It was a lot of fun talking to all those guys. And so go check that out. Be on the lookout for some great stuff coming up next week. We've got our first redraft for the 2006 NFL Draft coming up. So it'll be me, Joe Reed, who came up with the idea, and Daniel Barnett will be doing that with us as well. So go check that out next week. But other than that, just go visit the site, monstersofgeek.com, and we are out.
Peace.